oath sworn is an oath answered. An oath of vengeance for a life taken. A past destroyed. A future threatened. Enemy of darkness. His battle eternal. He walks the earth relentless. His mission to hunt the messengers of evil and drive them back to hell. Now, the light of the earth depends on the immortal. Welcome, Highlander fans, to Blooded Kings, a Highlander podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. On this show, we cover everything from the Highlander universe, except for this show, because we are discussing The Immortal, the 2000 to 2001 limited-only series starring Lorenzo Lamas, The Immortal. And, it's about immortals, so that's why we got to talk about it here on the Highlander podcast. But, I can't do this alone. I need my fellow immortal brother, and I'd like to welcome Mr. Lee. How are you, sir?
I was really good, and then I watched this. Now, I think I'm ready to do our fixing on Bless the Child, just to get the taste out of my mouth of this travesty.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge that a little bit later, because I guess I got to ask you. Okay, so this is a Highlander podcast on Blood Kings. But we like to talk about other movies about immortals. We've been doing that for a while. So I messaged you. I said, Lee, we got to talk about this movie or this TV series, The Immortal. I've never seen it before, but I bought the 85-minute, television premiere, probably done in 2 hours with commercials. And I said, do you want to talk about this? And what did you say?
Absolutely, I believe. I know it's craptacular, but it's one of those. I'm an unapologetic fan of Lorenzo Lamas until I watched this finally. But,
unapologetic.
Oh yeah, I've watched all of the Snake Eater trilogy, the Bounty Tracker, Renegade. I've got the box set of that, which is buying that as a man is really weird because all it says on the cover, it's like this big silver logo that says Renegade, and there is oily, sweaty, flowing-haired, shirtless Lorenzo Lamas on the cover, and everyone's just like wondering or saying like, you know what, buddy, good for you, live your truth. But I love that show too.
Well, all right. Well, we're going to touch on that a little bit later, but this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about The Immortal, and this is a picture. And if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, make sure you check out the video on YouTube because we're going to be doing a little bit of show and tell here, and we got some images that we want to show, and we'll describe them as well for our listeners. But this is the DVD cover of the, I guess we just call it the 2-hour premiere, which, with all the commercials cut out, it's about 85 minutes. So I got to ask you, Lee, when did you first learn about this show? And did you watch it right away, or what was the deal?
I saw an episode somewhere in the middle of the season that it had. And at the time I was actually fighting. And that aside, along with working full time and going to school, I really had no time to watch new TV shows, even though, like I said, I'm a Lorenzo Lamas fan. I kind of forgot about it. Then a few years later, found out that the Iaido instructor, which is a Japanese art of sword drawing, the master of my system was the same guy that Lorenzo studied with to kind of prepare for this show. So he had some interesting stories about that. Kind of a weird one, but I will admit this is the first time I've watched it on purpose, and I think that was a mistake. Again, as a fan, this is just
on purpose. Okay.
In the words of Delroy Lindo, I've seen better film on teeth.
Okay. Well, we've, we'll get into more of it in the main discussion because we got a lot to talk about here. But I got some thoughts about it, and I actually watched more than the first movie here, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But first, I thought that we would just remind people what's been happening here on Bloody Kings. So we recently did Duncan McLeod's Deadliest Immortal Opponents, episode 162 of Bloody Kingsley. Thoughts on that?
That was a really fun one. It's interesting, the ones that we agreed on and then the ones that we had separate from one another.
Right.
Kind of going down that list. There were some really interesting choices I think we both made. I do like that we kind of had our walk-ins nice and easy, but I think we came up with a pretty good list. I think we both had really good reasons for choosing the ones we did. And, it was fun. And the fan involvement that we had on the Bloody Kings Facebook page, that was kind of cool. That was an interesting conversation, watching everyone, shall we say, colorfully discuss their favorites.
It's true. Colorfully, yes. We also did, this was your idea. We did a whole podcast on one of the best villains. And, and this kind of, helped us decide to talk about this, but this was your idea. We did Antonius Callus.
Oh God, that was so much fun. I think that's like peak Highlander. To me, that would have been the best possible way to end the series. Definitely better than season 6. But it was fun. We had another bad guy that spanned more than 2 episodes. We really only had Horton and Xavier that did that, and even then Xavier kind of died in the 3rd one.
Well, that was a great one, and you hosted that one as well, and it was a lot of fun because he was such a good villain, and so make sure you guys check that out. Now, of course, we are discussing, this is Bloody Kings Highlander podcast, episode 163, The Immortal. Only lasted 1 season, was started in 2000 and in 2001, starring Lorenzo Lamas. But you know what? Before we get into that, we're going to return to a place that we miss, and that is called Joe's Bar. Got some stuff to discuss there, ladies. So let's head on into Joe's. All right, so we got a little bit of news here. I thought this was really cool. I'm also extremely jealously that you get to see the original Highlander 1986 on the big screen next week. I have never seen Highlander on the big screen. I saw it on the video, many different forms of video. I've talked about this in the past. I never got to see that 4K restoration that was floating around. I'm hoping sometime it makes it anywhere within a 100-mile radius of where I live, because I will drive that far if I have to. Tell us what's going on, Lee.
There is a local one hall theater here in town called the Parkway. Was run for a long time by my good friend Earl Lux, who, like yourself, dresses up as ice cream maker man. Trying to
Wilro Hood.
Wilro Hood, yeah.
Yes.
Just he is a lover of cinema. Sold it, but he's still running the projectors there for him. And they're hosting a screening of the original Highlander. To the best of all of our knowledge, this is the original print. This isn't like the director's cut that we got, or the European cut that we got, or any of the others. So this would have been as we saw it in 1986. And conversation happened, and I will be hosting it. I will be representing Blood of Kings. I will be doing the trivia, some intro, all sorts of fun stuff prior to the show. A little bit of an after Q&A sort of thing.
Nice.
Just kind of nerd discussion. But and I will be bringing the swords of Conor and Kurgan with me. So
nice, a little show and tell. So how did you come about to hosting this? What happened?
Well, in the film community, we all kind of promote and help each other, and my name ended up getting to the boss of the theater, actually through Earl, and they kind of reached out, or they said email me, and I reached out, and we kind of started talking about what we could do, and it became official the other day. Probably by the time this airs, It will be just the day before I do this event, so I'm looking forward to that. But I've been active in the local film community for a long time. I've been seeing movies at this place even longer. They're the place that'll do, say, Buckaroo Banzai, or I saw Pulp Fiction there a couple years ago, which is as many times as I see it on DVD and Blu-ray, there's nothing like seeing it on the big screen.
Oh, God, I remember that. I remember that, seeing that in the big screen for the first time. Memorable experience. That is so cool, though, man. Highlander on the big screen, you get to host it. Is there anything in particular that you're going to be doing as well? Do you know people that are seeing it for the first time?
Yeah, I'm actually several of my friends are going, as I mentioned. But one of my students, a fantastic martial artist and coming up as a really good stunt person, Krista Rose Gulexson, who I've done several movies with now. This is her first time to see it.
Wow.
And so in an upcoming Joe segment, I will be actually talking to her about her thoughts on the movie once she's seen it. She's kind of going into it with open eyes.
Good.
And, you know, she's been training with me now for about 2 years. Very talented. And she knows that I love this movie, so I think she's going to kind of try to figure out what's wrong with me and see if maybe this is at the heart of it.
That's so cool, man. I'm really excited, not only for her but for you and the fans there. So we'll have to return to this because I want to find out how it went, and I think this is a really cool experience and seen on the big screen, man. Question: have you seen Highlander on the big screen before?
I did one time, but it was a midnight showing at another local kind of one hall theater here, and it's in a downtown area, and I may have enjoyed it Scottish style by enjoying certain Scottish libations prior to it.
Haggis?
I remember having gone, no, but later on, there was a haggis-like substance that could be found all over the sidewalk. No, I was pretty lit up by the time I got to the theater. I remember seeing the fight, but it was kind of blurry after that. So I intend to be mostly sober watching it this time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we'll get back to you about that. I'm curious and excited for you, and so we'll definitely have to discuss that in the next Joe's for the next episode. But the other thing I wanted to mention in Joe's kind of newsworthy, and in a way it's not news, but it is news for a lot of people. It seems that the news that Henry Cavill, star of The Witcher, and among other things, his casting seems to be getting another round of people's attention that maybe didn't catch it first time last year. Seems like we've been discussing this for almost a year now. When he was originally cast, we did a couple of podcasts mentioning it, or at least one of them for sure. And of course, there's a lot of people that jump on there can be only one bandwagon. Why are you remaking this? Blah, 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 blah. We get a lot of that negativity as well. And of course, on the flip side of the coin, we get people that are excited about it, like I know you and I are. But I found a article on The Scotsman, which is a Scottish newspaper, news you can trust since 1817. And it came out just a few days ago as of this recording of Bloody Kings. Henry Cavill, the Witcher star, joins Highlander movie remake, cast as Conor Mcleod. And I thought this was interesting, Lee, because I have a link there in the notes, but I was like, we haven't really been confirmed whether or not he is playing Conor. We assume he is, but we had speculated, what if he was playing another Highlander-y type person? And the author, Ginny Sanderson, goes on to write, saying the 38-year-old known for playing Superman in the DC Extended Universe has joined the remake of the 86 cult classic Highlander. Cavill has been cast as Conor Mcleod, the lead role in the film, which is being directed by John Wick's Chad Stahelski. Confirming the news, he said it was very exciting that he had been a fan of the film since I was a lad. The news has sent lightning bolt across the internet, with many excited for Cavill to bring his physicality from The Witcher to the part. And then they go on here as to what we know everything about the Highlander movies thus far, which we already do know. So is this just them assuming that it's Conor that he's playing, or has this been confirmed? What do you know? What do you think?
I think it can be very reasonably inferred from Chad's statements that he's playing either Conor or the Highlander of this series. I think that redoing the Conor story is probably the best option for them.
Right.
Kind of a ground zero place. Adding yet another a fifth Mcleod to this would be kind of ridiculous to that Immortal lineup, because we've already got 2 animated Mcleods, 2 live action Mcleods, and all of them different names and histories, and actually 2 Ramirez, which is kind of weird. But I think it's reasonable to assume that he is. It would be kind of ridiculous to bring him in with his star where it is right now and not have him be the main character of this universe. I know a lot of people are saying Kurgan, which he's certainly capable of doing it. He had a good bad guy turn in Mission Impossible, but you don't really get the draw from the bad guy in a movie like this. You get it from the good guy.
Yeah, it's true, and it's the journey of the good guy in this, definitely. So I'm excited. I'm curious when we're going to start getting information on other casting. This is the big news that I'm waiting for next, and maybe location shooting. Are they actually going to shoot it in Scotland? I don't know. Chad has never said anything about that. They've been very secretive on that end of it. So I'll be curious to find out. So anyway, guys, stay tuned. We will definitely break it here on Bloody Kings for any news on the Highlander reboot starring Henry Cavill, directed by Chad Stahelski. All right, Lee, I think we've done a pretty good job returning to Joe's. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, let's run out on our tab before they catch us.
All right, let's head on out of Joe's. All right, let's head into the main topic here. We are discussing The Immortal, starring Lorenzo Lamas. The, I'm not going to say limited series, just one season, 2000 to 2001. All right. Okay, so Lee, I want to, first of all, for those of you that are watching this, I want to show something here. This is the DVD set cover that came out. I don't think it came out in mass production, Lee, because when I tried finding this on eBay, it was going for $174.
I think the whole show was made for $174.
Yeah. Did you ever see this in the wild? I never did. I don't remember this.
I never did, and honestly, I forgot about it the entire series until Hollywood Video went out of business, whatever that was, 2010, 2011, and I still have the sticker on mine to show like that's I bought it there, so yeah.
That is so funny. Oh my god, that is hilarious. It's funny you say that, because I got mine on eBay. And it has this. I could definitely tell it was a rental, because it's got this little like sci-fi type logo thing right there. Yeah.
Oh, we match, bro.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So maybe they came from the same store. I don't know if they did or not.
Quite possibly, man.
But anyway, I wanted to show the picture of that. Let's I want to show a picture of the cast here. Let's go ahead. Let's add this picture here. These are the 3 main stars here. Of course, it's Lorenzo Lamas, Steve Braun as his sidekick, basically, and April Tellick. That is the actress's name. And we got that going on here. And then what do we got next here? And by the way, we got the Renegade here. So let's I'm going to come back to that, because you touched on it earlier, but I want to read the synopsis here for this show for those of you that don't know, or that maybe do or do not want to be reminded. First of all, The Immortal is a Canadian horror-based, yes, I said horror-based, I'll get into that, martial arts television series, which aired from October 7th through 2000 to June 2001, only had 22 episodes. And here's the plot. In the 17th century, a Dutch sailor named Raphael Kane was stranded on the foreign shores of Japan. He fell in love with one of the locals, Mikiko, and they eventually married. However, after the birth of their daughter, Kiyomi, they were attacked by demons who killed Rafe's wife and stole his child. Mikiko's father, Yashiro, was devastated and mystically empowered Rafe, who swore that he would never rest or die until all the demons walking the earth had been sent back to hell. Partnered with Goodwin, his immortal servant, Rafe has walked the earth for over 3 centuries, trying to fulfill his oath. In modern times, Rafe and Goodwin became involved with a parapsychologist, Dr. Sarah Beckman, after she unwittingly made herself the target of the demons Malos and Vashista. During a confrontation with Malos, the demon taunted Rafe with the news that his daughter was alive and well somewhere in the world, but under the control of demons. Given a new goal for the first time in centuries, Rafe has 2 allies seek to rescue Kiyomo and finally rid the earth of the demons who plague her. Doesn't that just get you excited?
No. Because I saw this entire thing and I know how well it was made. No.
Oh my God, that's funny. Okay, I got to tell you though, if you look at the DVD description, it's a little interesting because they show a different name, an alias that he uses. And the DVD's description says, Earth has become a playground for demons, and only one man, the man who has walked their world for 400 years, can detect and destroy them. That man is Keen Emerald, a master warrior. Keen is samurai, soldier, gunfighter, and martial artist. His immortal strength feeds him with the powers of bullet-dodging speed and wound-healing mystery. But his mortal enemies are always on the prowl for new and inventive ways to destroy him. You excited now?
I'm still wondering where Keen Emerald came from. Like, that is one of the dumbest names. Like, that would be like an unambitious stripper name.
Yeah.
It's not a good name. It does not, like literally, this is worse. Like, he did this horrible movie where he was rapping in 1984. And I say the term loosely because I don't think he understands what rhythm is.
What was the movie? Do you remember?
It was called Body Rock.
Oh gosh, okay.
It is so bad. I do not recommend it unless it's a choice between this and Body Rock. If you have the Immortal or Body Rock, watch Body Rock. But his character's name in that one is Chili with no explanation.
Okay.
And it is spelled as cold, not the pepper, like chili, CHLLY.
Well, his aliases are known as the Immortal or Rafe, short for Raphael, and Keen Emerald. But yes, that does sound like a pretty bad stripper name, to be honest with you. But I got to ask you, did you end up watching the whole series?
No. Okay. I saw this one, or this thing. I saw that episode way back when.
Okay.
And what I do remember of that other episode, I'm pretty sure they had a different stunt and fight coordinator because that wasn't as bad as this.
Okay. Okay, so I do want to mention real quick before I forget that I found the series streaming on the Roku channel. And it's not like the best quality, but I did get 5 episodes in. And I may go a little bit more, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But I think that we need to talk about Lorenzo Lamas, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And you had... let me see here. So I guess his biggest role, as you could say, is his part in The Renegade. All right.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing a few episodes from time to time, but I didn't watch it religiously. But I did want to get your thoughts on the Renegade series.
This was a really fun one. This was basically on Saturday night. You would have the action pack, which included Hercules and Xena, and that was like from 5 to 7, and then nothing for a while. And then about 10:30, you'd get Renegade, and then you'd get Highlander right after that. So like it was just all of the feathered, long-haired heroes of the 90s basically chose Saturday night's our night. And then in the middle from 7 to 9 is when you had Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, with the other dude that had the awesome feathered hair.
Right.
And chiseled abs and all that sort of stuff. But I think I've seen every episode of Renegade. Actually, some very good stuff. Some amazing co-stars in it. They've got Karihuyuki Tagawa, who's Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat, who's in he was the Asian guy that was a bad guy in every movie in the 90s.
Yes.
You've got Martin Kove, who plays John Kreese in The Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. That was actually his brother. They brought in a lot of other martial artists.
Well,
yeah.
They also had his co-star Branscombe. What was his name?
Branscombe Richmond.
Yeah, and I'd seen him like he's played villains and other stuff before. I think I saw him in what is it? Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man. I think he was in that as well, if I remember correctly.
He was in a couple of Steven Seagal movies. He was in I think the second episode of a Magnum PI. He played Moki.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and he was also The Rock's brother in Scorpion King.
That's right. Well, okay. So I want to talk about Lorenzo a little bit more, but Lee, I have evidence here. And for those of you that are watching the video, you might want to check this out on YouTube. Lee, you met Lorenzo Lamas here. What's up with that?
First, I just want to point out that how tall and magnificent his hair is, because that's easily another 1.5 inches worth of height that he's getting just from that bouffant. Yes. I'm also saying that as a man who's jealous, because I've got a 5 head. I don't even have a 4 head. I've got a 5.5, maybe 6 head there.
Okay, you are wearing one of those bowling shirts, so I'm going to say this has to be late 90s.
No, this is about 2005.
Okay, 2005. Okay.
Remember, I'm from the Midwest, so we're usually.
You're right. If it was late 90s, he would have had longer hair. So you're right. He must have cut it. Okay.
Yeah. But I was in Las Vegas, and I ran into him. I want to say somewhere around Bally's, and I'm like, "Oh, you're Lorenzo Lamas." And he's like, "Hey, man, nice to meet you." And I'm like, "Yeah, we actually have an instructor coming." He's like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Hanshi Miki." And he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "You do Asian Ryuyato," and so we got to talking, and he was a very nice guy. Had took the time. We actually mostly discussed classic martial arts because he is very much of the traditional karate, taekwondo, judo styles. One of the things that I really liked about Renegade was kind of sticking to that traditional style of martial arts when everything else was going towards either kung fu, which we actually see concurrently in Highlander. Starting with season 2, the style changed. Nothing wrong with it. It's just my upbringing was more of the Japanese and Korean martial arts. So we talked about that for a while.
That's so cool.
And he signed an autograph to me, and it was really nice. He signed it with mutual respect and admiration.
Really? That's
and
cool.
I was very touched by that because, in that picture, I was approaching 30. But in my head, meeting my heroes, I was watching him in high school. I had the long hair. I had the duster.
Right.
I was called Renegade by people who wanted to make fun of me. I'm like, wait, why am I insulted by this? I'm trying to go for that.
That was really cool that he did that, though. That was nice.
And just couldn't have asked him to be nicer. Okay. So that was a cool moment for me.
Well, so I would say his breakout role and probably what he's most known for is Renegade, where he played Reno Reigns. Cool guy, long hair, duster, wearing on the motorcycle and doing his thing. But I think he got his first break though on Falcon's Crest that came out in 1981 as Lance Cumpson.
Just another great stripper name.
Yeah. He's an avid
to the stage, ladies. It's Lance Cumpson. If you want to know why, you got to take him to the champagne room.
Okay, so I want to mention that he's been riding motorcycles. I don't know if he started doing that after Renegade or if he was doing that beforehand. But he loves doing that, and it says that he's avid motorcycles for over 30 years and has participated in the Love Ride to benefit MDA and various charities since its inception in 1983. He's also on the board of directors, so that's very cool. But lately, Lorenzo is a commercial helicopter and airplane pilot, and he often flies disadvantaged children to summer camps and people too sick or financially challenged to travel normally on domestic flights. He's been recently received his certification to become a helicopter flight instructor. And this is what he's looking like right now. He's got the gray in there. For those of you guys that are listening, he's got the gray hair, short hair. He's got his little flight suit on and looking very happy there. What do you think there, Lee?
He looks like Cobb Vanth's older brother. from Boba Fett. Like if they need somebody to come in and just kind of join forces with him to kick somebody's butt, I mean, come on, let's get Lorenzo Lamas in the Mandoverse.
That's funny. That's funny. All right, so that's what the little Lorenzo Lamas is doing right now, and he's our hero, Raphael Kane, or whatever that other name was. But let's talk about some of the co-stars here. Steve Braun, who plays Goodwin, he's also in the 22 episodes. He was born. Now let me go ahead and get a little picture here for you guys. Side-by-side picture with Lorenzo Lamas with his shirt off, about 400 years ago in Japan. And that kind of plays his squire, I guess, his buddy. Interesting that he's also, I guess, immortal to a certain degree, and he's been around for that long. Don't know much about Steve Braun, but he was in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. He was also in the 2002 movie The Trip, and of course this series as well. And he was born in Winnipeg, Canada. So he's a Canadian actor. Quick thoughts on his character in the series that you saw thus far?
I don't think they really cast somebody that represented who his character was supposed to be. Nothing wrong with his performance, but like he just doesn't. When you see him in modern times, and the demoness is kind of making fun of him for still being a virgin, it's like if he was still a virgin, he wouldn't be dressing like somebody named Chad, who is the president of his fraternity. Like
or could have been the bass player for Limp Bizkit,
Yeah, like he was not rocking that 400-year-old virgin look, I mean, he definitely didn't seem all that pent up, he seemed kind of like an annoying cousin
right.
that you're supposed to like take out when the aunt and uncle come to visit. He was not I just don't think that they had him in mind when they gave him lines and a synopsis.
I got to tell you, though, I did find him a little bit charming. I love the fact that he's always eating something. That's kind of his thing. He's always hungry. He's always munching on something. Kind of like Han from the Fast and Furious series. He's always, because he's a former smoker, so he's always having to keep his hands busy. But I did
Brad
find
Pitt
him
and everything.
Yeah, this is true. Yes, I did find the Goodwin character kind of fun at times, and he was one of the reasons that kept me watching past this 2-hour movie special. I was just kind of curious to see where his character would go.
The part that had me laughing the most, though, was, Lorenzo is like, I swear I will not stop until I've avenged my wife and daughter. And he just walks up, me too. And they just kind of nod at each other. Like they didn't know where to go with this. They're getting no feedback from the director. They're like, all right. Oh, awkward. I guess we have, I have the power, but we're just going to, blue lights. Yay.
Okay. So the next co-star is played by April Telek, Dr. Sarah Beckman. She was in all the episodes there. She's an award-winning film and television actress. Was born and raised in North Vancouver, British Columbia. After landing her first modeling gig at the age of 10, April quickly realized her love for the camera. And while growing up as a child actor and international model, April was enrolled in a Super Achievers program designed specifically for kids with professional careers in school. Upon graduating, she decided to commit herself full-time to the craft and hasn't stopped working since. And I looked at her IMDb. She's been busy. In 1994, she went on to win the title of Miss Canada. Got a picture of that here right there. That might have been an earlier one there, but it does say Canada on there. And this took her to 17 international competitions, including Miss Asia Pacific in the Philippines and Miss Top Model of the World in Istanbul, Turkey. She also had the honor of being titled Hottest Canadian Talent on the web and was voted First Wave Babe of the Month on more than one occasion. She is now in her 40s and she's still acting and such. Thoughts on her character on the TV series?
She actually reminded me of Randy McFarland.
Yeah.
And I like the interaction between everybody that, there was like some kind of flirtiness with her and Rafe.
Yeah.
But, she was more than just the girl in this episode. And as much as I loved Alexandra Vandernoot and Tessa, a more well-rounded character. than we got in episode 1 of Highlander.
I would agree. Definitely. Yep. Definitely. I thought she was really sweet. I liked how driven she was. I thought she was kind of funny and quirky at times, in the fact that she's been kind of dealing with this demon issue kind of on her own, and then all of a sudden, the Immortal walks in with the hair and saves her. But I get a feeling, though, even she's not a fighter, I think she can take care of herself. She's a little scrappy, and I kind of like that about that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, she shot first. I mean, she just went boom, got him in the shoulder with a 38. So
yeah. Now, the main villain of this series that was introduced, and I think he was in 6 episodes throughout the whole season. And like I said, I haven't seen all the way through yet, so I don't know what happens. It remains to be seen whether I finish following through with the rest of the series or not. But it is Malos, played by Dominic Keating, who was born in England, and he's known for the 2000 movie Beowulf. And also, probably more to Star Trek fans, as Lieutenant Malcolm Reed in Star Trek Enterprise. What were your thoughts on Malos, the villain?
Interesting character, very much a scene chewer.
Good point.
He was doing everything he could with what he had, which, as a bad guy, is a lot easier than if you're the stoic, noble good guy. I was pleased to see him because I really haven't seen him in anything other than Enterprise, which I unapologetically love that show.
Me too. Love it.
Yeah. And it's been a long road getting from there to here.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed him. And I liked that they didn't kill him off right away. That we have some continuity. It's not just, oh, this is the world I live in, and I got to go kill some demons. Which we get, with Immortals in the Highlander, and we get with the vampires in Angel and Buffy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was scene stealer, definitely. And when I was looking at reviews of this, and we'll get into that a little bit more later, his character was one of the highlights, if any, if you talk to some fans, because he has a lot of fans through that Star Trek series as well. And I liked him. I thought he was great. This person you might recognize. She was in 5 episodes, and this is Grace Park. This is not a picture of her from that series. This actually is more when she was starring as Sharon Boomer from Battlestar Galactica reboot that came out in 2004. And she's now she was co-starring in the recent Hawaii Five-0 reboot as well. But she played the wife of the Immortal. Thoughts on her character?
Well, I think given how she looked in that and how she looks now, she could have been playing the Immortal because she hasn't aged. I do wish that they hadn't just fridged her. We just get a sense that, hey, they're probably married. We don't really get a sense of their romance, their courtship, really anything. Like, we're introduced to her when he has to go help somebody in the village, and then she dies.
I understand. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That she's in 5 episodes, so she does return in flashbacks that kind of flush out a little bit more of her character and the relationship with Raphael, or Rafe as they call him. But she was really, she doesn't seem like she has aged much, because she, the way you see her now and the way her then, maybe a few years, it seems like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was watching Hawaii Five-0 because I'm that dork, and homegirl could still rock that bikini. I'm telling you.
Yes, she can. She's beautiful. Now, one of the other villains, the villainous sidekick of Dominic Keating's Malos, we have Kira Clavel as Vashista. If I'm saying that right, there she is, right there. I got to tell you, I'm not going to say almost. She upstaged Dominic Keating's character at times, wouldn't you say?
Well, definitely in that leather outfit she did. Where It was apparently quite cold, because normally you can't tell under leather, but boy, let's just say, you know, I don't sympathize with the character, but she made a couple interesting points.
Yes, she did. I noticed too. She was kind of egging on Malos's character, Dominic Keaton's, to kind of make his move and to make sure that you know, he killed the immortal. And I feel like in a way she was pulling his strings a little bit at times when I was watching this. But she was good, and there was a great scene between her and oh gosh, what's her Dr. Sarah Beckman. They had a couple of scenes together as well. But yeah, she looked great. I don't remember seeing her in anything else, really. Do you remember her in anything else, Lee?
No, and I kind of tried to look it up, and it's with looks like that. And honestly, she did a lot with this script. She did more with this script than the good guys did.
It's a good point. It's a good
You
point.
know,
Yeah.
and yeah, I do wish that she'd gotten another chance. You know, like Dominic and Grace did, because they ended up going on to have, you know, some success later on.
Well, there's a guest star that was in several episodes, and Highlander fans know who this guy is. And this is Mr. Robert Ito, who played Yashiro. This guy's interesting because he seems to give the power of immortality to our hero here, Rafe. But we get this wise, you know, guy again, very similar to what we see in Highlander. Wouldn't you say, Lee?
I know he's supposed to be, but he doesn't do anything until like after Rafe has made this sword that we don't understand why he knows how to do that. And he's just like, okay, you're immortal now. Here's the rules. And does it in any of the episodes that follow? Like, does it ever explain how he knows Rafe's name?
Well, I wish I could tell you, but I haven't watched the rest of the episodes yet, so I'll have to find out. So
now I will say, it was my idea a few months back to do kind of like the repeat guest stars episode.
yes,
And Robert Ito was on that list.
yes, he was in The Samurai and as Hideo Koto and Revenge of the Sword. We played Johnny Leone.
And as you mentioned, he was in the Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Yep.
Where, you know, among many other things, I lamented that I want a bus with a dojo in it. And then you have me watch this show. It has a bus with a dojo in it. And so I have created this in the universe. And I'm just going to say, I want my lottery ticket that I bought this morning to win. So I'm putting this into the universe that I think maybe I have that power. It's the secret, right? Maybe this is, you know, and then if you say me too, I'll hold my sword up and we'll just be like, okay, I won.
Okay, so I just want to mention that because I did have that in the notes later, but they don't live in a you know, cool dojo somewhere. They don't live in a high-rise apartment. They live in basically a big tour bus that like a rock band would go in. So they're always mobile. But what's really funny is in the first episode anyway, the first movie that we're talking about, you don't really see them go in the bus. You just see the bus parked and they're near it. And then you see them go on the set of the bus. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty big for a bus inside of it. And he's got his own little, like, you know, I guess kind of dojo in there where you can kind of go in and, you know, do some yoga or whatever. But then there's like some weird shots of like the bus, like somewhere in some random area that's outside the town outskirts next to like a train or, you know, something like that. So it's like they're always on the move, I guess, is what the deal is.
Something also that they didn't put in the bus is a way to get to the driving compartment.
Yeah.
There's one door on the side, and like there's no, you can't turn right to go and you just get to the driver's seat. You just go upstairs, and hey, we're in our bus dojo, which Lee needs in his life. I'm that's the part I loved about this show.
All right, so we're going to dive a little bit more into the show itself and ask the important questions. But we asked the important questions for our friends and family there at the Blooded Kings Highlander podcast Facebook group. And so we're going to go into the Immortal Buzz. Okay, Lee. So I had to put this out there because I wanted to see what other people were saying about it, and we get some great responses whenever we do this before we record a podcast because we want to include them in this. And so I said most revered movies and TV series have their imitators, and some are obviously blatant ripoffs. On this episode of Blood of Kings, Lee and I are going to be discussing The Immortal with Lorenzo Lamas. Did you see it? What did you think of it? And be honest. We will share your comments below. I thought it was also interesting too that it was also filmed in Vancouver, you know. So we got some responses here. Brian Hanley says Rick Ferracci was an actor on the show. He told Lorenzo Lamas that he used to work on Highlander. Lamas apologized to him for the blatant knockoff, and they both laughed out loud about it right on the set. Rick busted up his knee in a stunt on this show. For actual footage of Rick's stunt gone wrong, you can see it in the show. Look for the scene when the ice cream man goes flying through the air at Waterfront Park in North Vancouver. He didn't stick the landing. And I said, that's an amazing story. I don't know what episode that was, but that was not in this 2-hour premiere episode. But I thought that was a great response, though.
Yeah, kind of. And if there's no way that Lorenzo Lamas did not know that this was very, very overt ripoff. I mean, you don't share a time slot, you know, and like even once it went into syndication, they were on at the same time on the USA Network every afternoon from 3 to 5. Like they were stacked on top of each other. This was not unknown. This wasn't Lorenzo didn't wake up with beautiful hair one day and say, "Wait, was I ripping off?"
It was a job for him too, I'm sure. So it's a paycheck. So Colleen says, I watched the first few episodes of The Friend. We noticed how much it was a cheap imitation of Highlander, the series. We quit watching and just watched our tapes of Highlander, the series instead. We even got banned from the Immortal web page because we were sharing our disappointment in the obvious ripoff show. They didn't like us posting side-by-side screen grab photos from both shows to prove our point. Our local TV station even canceled The Immortal after the 3rd episode because Highlander fans kept mocking Lorenzo's new show. It didn't help that they were airing it immediately after Highlander late at night in our area. This I find fascinating because I've mentioned before in Southern California in the 90s, it was so hard to find this show. It was on at different times, weird times. And so that's why I don't even remember it being repeated and then them showing The Immortal after it because of this. But that's so funny that she went on trashing the show and they got booted from the Immortal webpage.
Yeah, I love that she was like the original cancel culture. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right. That's funny. Tammy says, I was behind on the show until I seen it on the app Electric Now. You can watch it for free there. It's Dean Devlin's app where you can even watch Leverage and many other shows. So yeah, another way to watch it. And she put a link there. It's called the Electric Now app. And then of course, if you can search for the Roku channel, it's there as well. Let's see here. What else that we have here? Vonda says, and now I'm watching the first episode. I can't help but laugh. I will have additional episodes for this weekend where I'm back home after my job. And then I had to hit up Andy, Andy Sloan. I said, have you seen this? If so, when are you starting the Immortal location tour? And he jokingly said, I'm already on top of that, boss man. But Andy went into this, and I found his response fascinating. He says, the similarities were largely cosmetic, Kevin. You had a trio of heroes as the main cast, all tall, long-haired, dark immortal man, Raphael Rafe Kane, a young, wise-cracking sidekick who's also an immortal, Goodwin, and a tall, attractive blonde who also appeared in an episode of Highlander, by the way, Sarah Beckman. The main character wielded a katana, yes, but Raphael forged it himself while living in old Japan. The show was shot in Vancouver and the surrounding areas like Highlander was, but it was also randomly had about 5 episodes filmed in the Czech Republic. I'm curious to know what that was all about because they never bothered to explain it in the show and why the characters were obviously no longer in their usual home base. Maybe they got kicked out of Canada for making a bad show. I don't know. Nor did they explain why they returned to their usual home base after their time in the Czech Republic was done. I thought that the premise of the show was different enough from Highlander, an immortal man driving demons back to hell after swearing an oath of vengeance against a particularly nasty demon for killing his wife and kidnapping his young daughter. Raphael was neither beheaded the demons he killed nor receiving any sort of power from them once he killed them. Robert Ito, who played Duncan's samurai mentor in the Highlander, makes a half a dozen appearances in the flashbacks. There were a few other Highlander actors that also guest starred in The Immortal. I had been previously warned by one of the Highlander directors, who also directed a couple episodes of The Immortal, that it was a bad show, and I finally got to see what he was talking about. Admittedly, the acting was wooden in several instances, but I thought overall it was a fun show to watch and worth giving a try. Thoughts on his comments, Lee?
Well, I think he mistakenly made our point for us that this is a blatant Highlander ripoff from like the main premise, even down to him, getting revenge for the death of the wife and child, or kidnapping of the child. We kind of have that with Little Deer. We have Kern instead of Malos and all that sort of stuff. But we have, some very parallel plot lines with this. We don't have a Tessa with this. We do have a Randy McFarland. I kind of think that's an interesting little twist. And it's like Randy mixed with Joe.
Yeah.
On this, and we don't really like, the quickening is never defined as a power, so it's not like he really gets anything from that either. So I'd say this is a pretty blatant Highlander ripoff. I don't think there's any argument on that.
No, it is, and but it's interesting because it wasn't just Highlander they were, if you want to call, ripping off, or influenced, but this is basically Highlander meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Because in the late 90s, you had Buffy the Vampire Slayer, extremely popular. You had Highlander, popular. And so they were figuring like, well, let's rip off both of these, or let's be influenced by both of these. Instead of immortals fighting immortals, it's demons. And, and just so you guys know, when they kill a demon, he doesn't necessarily behead them. He either shoots them or he takes that sword and stabs them at the end. And they kind of do this little wiggly thing, and they get sucked back down to hell, basically. But here's the thing, though. What I like about that, though, is that, like in Buffy, when she kills the vampires, they just like turn into dust and explode. Where in Highlander, when you behead someone, their body's still around. So, what if their bodies had gotten sucked up into the quickening energy and just disappeared? That might have been a better choice originally, instead of having to worry about all these decapitations everywhere. But then you got to rewrite Highlander.
And you've got that weird like fugue state that happens every time there's a demon around.
Yes.
So it's like, that's why he could steal the Mustang and, I'm going to borrow your car for a second. Take a taxi.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you going to get the car back to her now, dude?
Yes, exactly. Tony Baker said, catch the latest episode of Totally Not Highlander at 3:35 a.m. Eastern. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
But yeah, when I was watching it through episode 4 or 5, I was getting a Buffy the Vampire / Angel vibe too. Because those shows did cross path.
I'd also say Forever Night on that.
Oh, okay. Good point. Yes, good point. Definitely. Becky Miller said, I didn't even know that this existed. Did they really think people wouldn't notice? I said that. Robin said, I saw the pilot and it was just bad. It was like they stole ideas from everywhere and slapped them all together. The best thing I can say is that the actors got paid. That's pretty funny. I guess they did.
Yeah.
All right, so before we go on, we're going to go ahead. Of course, we're going to get into some IMDb reviews, and then we're going to get into our little talk about the show. But first, we're going to take a little break from the immortal world of Highlander and the demons of the Immortal, and let you know what other great shows are here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. We'd like to continue to feed your ears by inviting you to listen to these other great shows on the Fandom Podcast Network. It starts with our flagship show, Culture Clash, discussing the latest in entertainment pop culture. Bloody Kings, Immortals Take Notice, our show covering the entire Highlander universe. Couch Potato Theaters, where we celebrate our favorite movies. Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback podcast discussing a year in movies and our favorite retro movie and TV pop culture topics. Good Evening, discussing all things Alfred Hitchcock. Union Federation, our Star Trek and Orville show. Hair Metal, the 80s and early 90s rock metal podcast. Type 40, our show covering the time-traveling Doctor Who universe with host Dan Hadley. Lethal Mullet, an 80s and 90s action film podcast with host Adam P. O'Brien. Also check out the Lethal Mullet Network for more great podcasts. What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast with hosts Scott, Derek, and Nathan. Making Treks, a Star Trek podcast, a deep dive into the final frontier with host Mark Newbold and Adam P. O'Brien. And check out our newest shows, The Fandom Show, our monthly Fandom Podcast Network live YouTube exclusive show about the month's hottest topics in fandom, and the FPN True Believers MCU podcast, discussing the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the related Marvel television and streaming MCU universe, including the connections to the original Marvel comics. You can find the Fandom Podcast Network on several platforms. Please subscribe to the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel to receive notifications of new podcast episodes and live events. You can enjoy all of the Fandom Podcast Network audio podcasts on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. The Fandom Podcast Network is on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast and iTunes. You can find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook. You can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find the Fandom Podcast Network on Instagram at Fandom Podcast Network and on Twitter at FanPod Network. Thank you for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom. All right, welcome back to Blooded Kings Highlander podcast, episode 163. We are discussing The Immortal, starring Lorenzo Lamas, the short-lived TV series. Came out in 2000, ended in 2001. You know what, though? We got one little interesting trivia, so let's head into the main topic discussion here. Okay, so Lee, I only found one trivia on IMDb. This show was heavily critiqued and being taken from Highlander, the 1990s TV series, with multiple plot points and characters being copied from that show. To this day, it is a sore point with a Highlander dedicated following. Accurate.
Yeah, but it's sort of like, again, it's like your weird cousin that sort of tries to act like you but fails miserably.
Yeah.
It's like Philip Seymour Hoffman in Boogie Nights trying to dress like Dirk Diggler, but nothing fits and it's all really awkward. Like you can't be really mad at Scotty. You're just like, oh, dude, why? I don't think it's a sore point. It's just dude,
that's so funny. So I did pick up some. I had to go through some IMDb reviews here. 1 out of 10. Blatant. By the way, the average ranking on this was like 4.7 or 8 or something like that. And if you remember when we were doing the quickening episodes, they were up by the lowest rated ones were like around 6 something. So that tells you, like, you know, how bad people were reviewing the show. But this one person said, "Oh man, this is so bad. I watched this thing because I was sick in bed. I really had no other thing to watch. And boy, did I regret it because I got sicker just watching it. Horrible effects, horrible acting, horrible dialogue. It rips off Highlander in so many respects, and it's criminal. Even then, it doesn't even approach how good Highlander was." And this was a 2001 review, just so you know. This person said, "The Highlander as Buffy the Vampire Slayer. At last a concept and scripts bad enough to make Lorenzo Lamas' acting look good. Almost. Skip this stinker. I didn't find it good, bad, or campy enough for laughs." Now, this person said, "Sci-fi show silly, but entertaining. I have to admit that this show is one of the most corny shows on TV, but that one of the things that makes it so entertaining. The tongue-in-cheek comedy is perfect for the atmosphere of the show. Its other redeeming quality is the actor Steve Braun, who plays Goodwin. Aside from being adorable, his comedic performance as the world's biggest coward is great. I only recommend this show to people who don't take their TV too seriously and can go into it with a very open mind." I got to be honest with you, Lee. Knowing that this series was panned as bad as it was, this is exactly how I went into it. And I kind of was finding parts of it enjoying through 5 episodes.
But yeah, I will say, maybe it happens later in the episodes, but I didn't really see him being a coward in any of this.
Yeah, I think it does. There's a couple of points where he kind of like is mythos and just stays away from fighting, not in that mythos way, but that's not his forte. You know, he's there
Yeah.
to take care of Kane, I guess, or Raph, and also in a way kind of plays the Richie role, you know, of what we would be like, I guess, if we were, you know, watching what was going on. But he's not useless for sure, from what I've seen for the first 5 episodes. So. If you like mindless entertainment, the show is for you. Whether or not you like the show will depend on completely whether you watch television shows purely for entertainment and mindless escapism, or whether you watch shows for intelligent scripts that make you think and characters with depth. If you want the former, watch the show. If you want the latter, Highlander and others already mentioned is a far superior show. Personally, I prefer the latter. So that is, and another one said, bottom line, if you want to laugh, watch this show. If you want to think, watch Highlander. If you want to see Dominic Keating, watch Enterprise. Okay, so Lee, let's get into, I have a few main questions here. What similarities does it have with Highlander? Go.
I mean, we've got trench coats, katanas, long hair, fighting random immortal bad guys, and you're immortal too, but you're a good one, or the main character, as well as the other main character, and then you've got the blonde lady that is let in on the secret. You've got Robert Ito. You've got Vancouver. I'm pretty sure the car lot was also where at least a couple different fights happened. I think they just filmed facing the other way.
Yep.
Like basically everything.
Did they secretly call Steve Gaghan and go, "Hey, where was that shot? You know, can you tell me, what you did? Who is this?" No one.
I feel like if they had called Steve Gaghan, this would have looked good.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, I think you named all the points there. Definitely, and I'm sure there was a lot of stuff in other episodes that we haven't gotten to yet that also have similarities with Highlander as well. So that's why I kind of want to watch it too, is to see what else they've ripped off. And doing that location tour of Vancouver with Andy back in 2019. Great tour, by the way, and I know he is eventually going to resume that. But I was recognizing some of the places that they were either driving by and some stuff, but we really don't know what city they're at. They don't say it. I swear I thought I saw a skyline of Chicago, maybe.
Yeah, I saw I always call it the Adventures in Babysitting building where they're sliding on the windows.
Yeah, the Sears Tower.
River.
Yeah. And so I think they took some stock footage and just threw that over there. So yeah, that was interesting. Okay, let me ask you this. And I need you to kind of dive into what maybe you found parts interesting about what does it have that Highlander doesn't?
Well, here's what I'll say. I will compare this in a lot of ways to the prequel trilogy. It's actually a better thought out idea that was much more poorly executed.
Excellent point. Agree with you 100%. Yep.
There's a lot that can be done with this. His immortality isn't just happenstance, even though we do find out that Duncan is, the prophesied one for random episodes. But there's a lot of that. I think the relationship that he has with Not Richie is a little bit better fleshed out. We have a sense of who Not Richie is a little bit better.
And Not Richie is also an immortal.
Yeah. And I think that what really Stan brought to it was the acting choices that he made to give Richie character and animus that nobody was doing with the good guys in this show. Everyone was kind of playing it bland and straight. Whereas we do have Richie swinging for the fences. We do have Alexandra, despite on paper being a much more lackluster character. Like I'm just the girl.
Right.
You're going to have to rescue me every week. But Alexandra brought more animus to this, I think. And honestly, as much as I am a huge fan of Adrian Paul, the level of martial arts prowess that Lorenzo Lamas has, and just the pedigree. I mean, he had his black belt before Adrian ever started studying. And he has multiple black belts, very legitimately earned, and he's done. He has more fights under his belt, more movies under his belt, more acting under his belt.
Right.
I mean, he did 227 episodes of Falcon Crest before he did the 100-some episodes of Renegade. On paper, he should have really knocked it out of the park with this, but I don't think that they were leaning into his strengths.
Do you think it was lackluster scripts? You think? Kind of like the writing of the prequel trilogy. You had good actors saying bad lines.
Here's the thing: the scripts of the prequel trilogy were bad, but I think that the plots were far better.
Yeah.
Than 4, 5, and 6. And I think there are plenty of bad lines in 4, 5, and 6, but you have Irvin Kershner cutting them out, and you have Harrison Ford bullying George on the lines.
Right.
With this, I don't think anyone knew how they were going to film it. And so you have these weird dissonant ideas that don't pay off just stylistically. When Lorenzo Lamas just like, how about this horsepower? What was the purpose of that? Like, he already knows you're a demon, so it's like, okay, they already know who he is, so like he's a threat. Like, by the way, I have guns.
It was just a joke, so he could show off his 2 guns underneath his armpits, So,
and then he doesn't use them. He rips the guy's body apart. Like he doesn't. Like like there's no sense of who Lorenzo Lamas is playing. No sense really of the tone of the world, of the visual style. It changes from one to the next. Like that opening scene with the sky was crazy.
I have a feeling that gets flushed out a little bit more throughout the series, but I have a feeling a lot of fans didn't get that far, didn't find that out. So
you're wrong, because I don't think a lot of fans exist for this show.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. So yeah.
There are not a lot of fans.
But what it has that Highlander does, I do like the demon take on it. The demons have been around for thousands of years, and there's different types of demons. And what's kind of funny is one of the things that we see in this beginning movie is a lot of the history and the pretense and all that is discussed while riding in cars. Going from one place to another. You get that between the female lead Beckman and Rafe. And you learn, and he gives you the hierarchy of the demons. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And but it kind of was reminding me a little bit about Buffy as well, because I'm a big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. But I did like the fact that they had the demons. You could, dismember them and they're still alive, and, and stuff. And I thought that was entertaining. And I felt that also the female lead, Beckman's that her name?
Yeah.
She was a little more fleshed out than I think that we had with Alexander Vandernoot's character at first anyway. So I do got to give it to that. So, okay. So let's ask the obvious question. What is your opinion? Why didn't this show work? Did it rip it off too much? Is it not enough originality?
I really think that it came down to production and direction. I think that there are enough pieces in place to make this work. We know what Lorenzo Lamas can do. I mean, he wouldn't not have gotten like over 15 seasons of television as a main character. He's the only person that did all 227 episodes of Falcon's Crest. Right. So that's the main character to me. He was the main character of another show. He's the main character of a bunch of movies. They didn't capitalize on him. They just kind of used him as that plug and place. And I think as an actor, he trusted direction, or the process of it. And I've been on sets like that too. Like director says, stand over there. You kind of have a feel for what you're doing, but maybe they're using the wrong lens. Maybe they're not picking up the little acting choices that you're making. So there's not that communication. I think that there was a way to have made this good. And it is unfortunately the people on the other side of the camera, as much as I'll rip on, how bad Lorenzo ended up looking, somebody told him to look that way. Yeah, no, definitely. And he looked good. He just looked familiar. So yeah, that's a good point. And
the effects were television effects. They weren't great. I can look past that though, honestly. But when you have like the demons doing that little like shaky shake on the ground first and then falling down into the depths of hell and stuff like that, probably would have done that a little bit better. But I think you're right about Lorenzo's portrayal. I think that they could have given him more to chew on, because he's a decent actor, and he could have done better in this. So I don't know if he was just phoning it in, or if he knew this was going to be kind of a one-shot season or what. So.
Yeah, and I think also one thing that they did very well with Duncan that they didn't do with Lorenzo is they gave Duncan like this kind of anachronistic style. Like, everything he wore, just like some of it was 90s, you got the, the purple silk shirts and everything, but the way he wore it, the way that he moved through the world was not a man of the 20th century.
Right.
You could tell the history with him. And when you watch this is so blatantly like if I wanted to make say, hey, everyone, this is what the year 2000 looks like, I would do that, because you have this weird Ford era Jaguar. You've got that the Prowler, which was the dumbest car ever, and
it was like a Porsche / hybrid ripoff. Yeah.
Well, it was like it was Mopar trying to make a Model T Roadster, and it didn't work out. And and you've got that weird yellow Mustang. Like it was just so much of this one spot of time. And then you kind of go back in history. It's like, okay, they're wearing kimonos, so we're in ancient times. There was no real sense of it. And could you tell that was just a random cottage somewhere in the hills that they tried to Japan up? Like that was not. They needed Steve Gaghan on this. He could have saved this show.
Yeah, no, you're right. But okay, so the last main question that I have is, what would have made it work? And I have some suggestions here. I think that if they didn't try to make a copy of Highlander with a flair of Buffy and stuff like that, I think they could have had something here. Not make him not look the way he looked. I think that they could have still done the Japanese thing in the past, but maybe proficient with more weapons than just using this katana that is an obvious homage to Highlander or theft from Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have to look the way that he did too. He could have, because honestly, Lorenzo Lamas' character in this sticks out like a sore thumb, and he should have been someone that just kind of was underneath the radar, kind of like the way Conor looks in the first film. He's kind of, unopposing a little bit and stuff. He's just got those eyes. But I think that, the demon thing, I still think could have worked. But I think that it would have been nice if maybe his partner too wasn't such a Richie ripoff, maybe more of a person that was his partner. And it could have been a female character as well. That would have been cool if they were like partners, whether they were romantically involved or not, or I don't know. But I think that would have been a much better thing, and not try to rely on the fan base from other shows. Oh, that reminds me of that show that I liked, but well, it's not as good. What do you think? What would have made it better? How could it have worked?
Well, one thing I want to mention, just as you were talking about this, I realized this is also ripping off Blade.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you've got the swordsman, and then you've got his helper, Whistler, and then you've got the doctor that they save, who they let in on the secret. Who has a way to find these.
Yep.
And
Blade came out in like 1998, I think, right?
Yeah, so it was before this. We'll just call this one bland. But I think finding a tone for it that because I mean there's a lot of ripoff shows. I mean, even half of the Avengers are ripoffs of other movies, but doing it well or bringing something new to it instead of trying to just steal the thunder of something else, I think would have been good. I really think leaning into what Lorenzo Lamas's brand would have been better for this, because he's not the charismatic Adrian Paul style character.
Yeah,
and
that's a
he's
good
not
point.
the brutal.
But he
He's
can,
not even Angel.
but he's shown that he has been that charismatic guy, though. He has in other series, like he did was in Renegade.
Even then, he was kind of like his charisma came from handsomeness. It didn't come from charm or style or sophistication.
Right.
It's lean into the pretty boy thing. There is a place for that in
Yeah.
and he was find a way to explain more things because why did he know how to forge a katana? Why did he know how to use one? We don't see
Well,
either of these things being taught to him.
well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. I got some other I got some other questions and topics that I just want to touch on briefly. The demon deaths, I gotta say, as cheesy as they were, some of them were entertaining. I did laugh at the demon that came apart with like his arms came off and he took the guy's head off and he was still chatting and he was like putting him in the wash bucket,
Mm-hmm.
like drowning him and trying to get information from him. I thought it was kind of funny. So Sarah Beckman was a paranormal physicist, I guess what it was. She
Mm-hmm.
was kind of doing the thing. She had that thing that she called the creature screecher, which would emit this sonic pitch that would hurt and temporarily disable, I guess, the demons. Maybe she uses that more. I thought that was kind of funny. What'd you think?
I like that. I like bringing a sense of the possible real world to it.
Yeah.
And while we don't have that really with the Watchers, we do have a parallel to the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
They had the way to do it.
and as I mentioned, Sarah's character, Beckman's character is a little more fleshed out because we find out that her parents were killed by the demons, Vashista and stuff. So, she had alluded to that. And so she's kind of been on this, her own crusade trying to figure out what's going on. The other thing too, I thought was kind of funny, and guys were wearing more earrings back in those, late 90s, early 2000s. I did. I pierced both my ears. I was kind of missing my earrings. What about you? You wore your earrings?
I never did. Even though I was very much of that culture that would have. I actually have a needle phobia. I have no problem with people swinging swords at me very regularly. You get like a little thin piece of metal anywhere near me, and I just go crazy.
Okay,
So,
all right.
yeah.
I was actually asking my fiance, Erin, I'm like, what if I wore the earring again? She's like, well, what if you don't? Maybe my time has passed, so we don't know. We talked about the tour bus thing. Thought that was kind of funny. So the villain Malos was killed according to this first movie here. He was killed in the 12th century, but then he was sent back to Earth to spread his evil. And then he says in his monologue at the end, while he's getting ready to, fighting, he's doing the evil monologue thing, as they always do. His 5,000-year-old plan is coming to fruition. His minions are everywhere. And this is also too where he says that Rafe's daughter, Kiyomi, is still alive. And they're holding her, I guess, within the demon confines, whatever that means. What did you think about that?
I thought it was interesting. I do like that we have somebody older and crazier than our main character. I do like that they had a better bad guy than season 1, episode 1 of Highlander did.
I would agree. I think he's better than Richard Mall, as Slan. So yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Now after watching them fight, I would much rather take on Richard Mall than Malcolm.
Yeah.
But
good point.
And I think the 5,000-year plan was remember back then everyone was talking about what's your 5-year plan? I think that was just kind of his joke. Because otherwise the 5,000 years kind of takes him back to the Garden of Eden, depending on
right.
Yeah, so maybe he's supposed to be that demon.
Well, we get more of him later in the series. I know this for a fact. I just don't know what happens exactly, but there is a 2-parter at the end of the series. What is it? Yeah, what's it called here? So it's called The Reckoning Part 1. and the Reckoning Part 2. And maybe this is when they go to Europe and film, because it says, while traveling in Europe, Goodwin has dreams of a special girl. Raphael relates to Sarah in flashback how they came to Europe once before on the trail of Malos. He had kidnapped a local gypsy woman, so on and so forth. And then in Part 2, Raphael is Malos' prisoner and must free himself and the imprisoned gypsies while defending the demon in this time and place. So, yeah, we definitely get more of that. I don't know if he survives or dies or whatever, but
can I ask, is it spelled W-R-E-C-K, Reckoning? As in it's a wreck?
Yes, there you go.
Like our fixing.
Okay, so I got one more picture I want to share here, okay? And I'm going to put up here for you that are listening. There's a scene in a flashback where Rafe Kane just finished forging his katana sword, and he's shirtless and he's holding up the sword, and his buddy's right next to him, and he holds it up and it looks like he gets like a sword quickening, I guess, and there's this energy that kind of goes around him, so it's basically like a quickening rip off, and we don't know how that happens exactly, but Goodwin is next to him. And the character Robert Ito says, he tells him of his quest that he must fight the demons and appoints the kid as his squire. And so is that how he became immortal? Because Robert Ito's character has some sort of mysterious power. Maybe that's said later in the season. What did you get from this 2-hour premiere?
A headache.
Come on, try.
I'm hoping that it's explained better how Robert Ito knew who Rafe was and whether there's a prophecy, whether there's a reason for any of this. I'm certain there had to be somewhere in the writer's room. I feel like it's the kind of thing that they just like, nobody needs to know that. But
Yeah.
This scene, there was so many different ways to act this. And I think at this point, you could see the lack of not caring on both of their faces in this. I mean, this, like, oh, we're surrounded by ethereal blue light. This is amazing. Oh, I guess I'm immortal now. I'm going to fight demons for a few hundred years. You want to come with me? Yep. Like, it's just...
I'm trying to argue that, but yeah, it could have been acted better. It could have been.
I mean, it's kind of cool. It did actually remind me of Ramirez and Conor on the mountainside.
Right.
This is the quickening. We are one, Mcleod. We are brothers. Like that, like somehow this is being drawn out, but like this happens, and then Robert Ito shows up. So it's like, okay, did Rafe do this on his own?
Right.
What inspired him to just make a sword? And why didn't he already have one if he knew how to do this? And like, why is, was this part of like a possession with like, if they had done anything to explain why this happened, why he does this specific sequence of events, I think that would have been much better.
I think we'll get more of that. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm kind of curious now. I'm a little bit invested in finding out why this bad show is so bad and how much more of Highlander borrows rip-offs from. I'll watch another episode and see where it takes me. I think I was on episode 5 or whatever, and I did find it kind of entertaining. I felt that they were kind of also feeling their characters a little bit more and having fun with it, and not as wooden as you would kind of describe there, and as well as Andy described in his post on the Facebook page. But does the daughter Kiyomo being still alive, do you find that interesting at all, or do you not care?
I mildly care, just to figure out how they deal with it, because okay, she's 400 years old now. Has she been trapped as a kid for 400 years? Is she our Kenny?
Good point. I'm going to say no, probably not.
and my other thought, until I like realized in my boredom that I had forgotten that Vashista was in the flashback scene where they kill the wife, I was thinking, oh, what if Vashista is actually his daughter? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, she was there. Like that would be the good twist.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I thought about that actually. I'm like, is that his daughter? Is she the one? And by the way, at the end of this episode, um, uh, the villain, oh shoot, I'm forgetting to say, what's his name?
Malos.
Malos gets his hand chopped off, and then escapes. And then he meets up with Vashita and like rips her hand off and like pushes her into the hell the hell hole, whatever, and she disappears. And he puts the hand back, her hand on him, and then it kind of turns into his hand. So I don't know if she's dead. Probably not. She might return. Who knows? But
when that happened, I was thinking Deadpool. I bet it feels huge in this hand. Like that's all I could think in my head.
Yes.
Because like he immediately like he puts it on, but like you see, like he takes the hand and he just slowly puts it down.
Yeah,
out of camera, and he's like, and then it cuts to, oh, he's just putting it on his stump. I'm like, were they really making that dirty joke right there? Oh no,
that's
they're
funny.
just being lame.
Well, the Vashista character, at least according to IMDb, is in 3 episodes. So this movie counts as 2 technically. So I guess she shows up one more time. So I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with that. So, and did you have any other questions or topics before we move on?
No, I think we did a pretty good job at knocking this one out.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's close things out here, and let's get into the final segment of this. All right. So, Lee, I was kind of afraid to ask you at first, but you were a good sport. I got to ask you, if you had to watch more episodes of this or watch Bless the Child, what would be your choice? You had to.
You know, because I feel like you could probably like find a way to force me to watch Bless the Child, but now that we've done this, we don't really need to do it again. It's not the Immortal podcast; it's a Highlander podcast. So I'm kind of on the fence on it. Like I know Bless the Child is still worse than this, but it's still like it's still at least Highlander. So like it's got that. I don't like this. And,
all right,
give
me your final thoughts on the Immortal, and obviously it's I know you think it's bad, and it is. I find it kind of campy and entertainment to a certain degree, though. I gotta say it, but I'm a glutton for punishment, and I like crap films. There's a lot of crappy stuff I like. So
I think of all the things that came out of Vancouver at this time. Things that shouldn't have worked, things that were derivative of other stuff. I mean, the fact that you brought David Carradine back in his 50s and he made Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, and every episode was better than any episode of this, just kind of shows how bad it is. They needed a better showrunner. They needed somebody, a Rick Berman, Brandon Braga kind of person to give it some animus. They needed, needed the David Abramovitz to give it reason and purpose. It couldn't just exist as a concept. There are good bones here. They just don't have any meat on them.
It's interesting though that a lot of these shows, even though they got one season, they got 22 to 24 episodes, or if it's a comedy series, maybe 26 or something like that. And that's not done anymore. This episodic television is kind of going away. You get now these shorter TV series with an overarching theme as the main plot now. And yes, to a certain degree, that's what, a lot of these shows were, but you got these little like not spin-off, but you got these one-shot episodic stuff, which is interesting. And, as I was, watching these episodes through season 4 or 5 or episodes 4 or 5, I was kind of missing that type of storytelling that we're missing. I'm not saying that, I want to watch 22 episodes of bad television, but I do kind of miss that a little bit. What about you?
I'm kind of of two minds on it. There's something to be said for drop in, drop out television, but for something like this that has a character that's 400 years old, same with Highlander, the more that you can have like a story arc to follow, I think the better. And I do like some of these shorter series because you're not scrambling to find material to make a bad day in building A just to flesh out your schedule.
Right.
You don't have the zone. Unfortunately, all of these episodes are about as good as the zone from what I see here. But I do like the idea of the shorter season if they can do it well.
Right.
But if it's short because they don't have a concept, like they recently tried to re-release the Transporter,
Yeah.
and God, that was boring. Or the worst, and I will watch this entire series before I ever watch another episode of Blade: House of Chthon. I don't know how they made a show
I
with
think
so
I
many naked
watched
women boring.
one episode of that and I was out. I just could not. Yeah, it was bad. Well, I gotta say, I'm a glutton for punishment at times, and I gotta give it for this DVD case. If you're watching the video, I put a cover up there again, and of course, I've got mine right here, just like yours. You know.
Oh yeah, I got mine.
Okay, so why are you holding on to it out of curiosity?
Let me ask you this, Kevin. Where's your copy of Phantom Menace? Is it on the shelf behind you?
Yes, it is.
It's sort of like when you get the snack pack of chips and you get the chili Fritos and nobody likes them, but like they're still
Right.
there. Like you can't really throw it away, but you don't really want to eat it. It's kind of got to be there. Like this is one of those that I just kind of have because it's so bad.
Excellent point. I'm with you there. I it's one of those weird oddities too. You know, you could just pull out going, yeah, well, have you seen this? It's kind of like one of those, like when people kind of like have those challenges and in conversations like, yeah, well, I did this, or I had to go through that. Or like, I had to sit through the Immortal, you know, one of those things like that, you know? So,
you know what? I do have a question for you. Where would you put this next to the Source?
This is more entertaining. I'll be honest with you.
I just realized that too. Like I will put this. This is one step above the Source. So
I would put it a few steps above the Source. I'll be honest with you. It's there's things that I did latch onto. I'll be honest with you, of the several episodes I watched, and I kind of want to see what happens, just so I could be educated, and maybe I'll just fall on the sword and watch it for all of you, so you don't have to.
okay, and I'll just drag you to some random blonde's apartment to bleed all over the place while she freaks out and eat all her peanut butter and tofu.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're going to go ahead and we'll close. Thank you, Lee, first of all, for doing this. This has been a lot of fun. I'm glad you agreed to do this.
I'm not.
All right, guys. So first of all, subscribe to the Fandom Podcast Network on YouTube. If you are watching this, that's exactly what you did, and appreciate that. And please tell your friends to subscribe. Please leave comments as well. That helps us with the algorithm. You've heard it before. It's helps us out on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio podcast of this, please go ahead on and hit the YouTube link. They're in the show notes there as well, and you can see the video and the picture aids that we put up to help with this broadcast. So our master feed for all of our audio podcasts can be found on Podbean, fpnet.podbean.com, and master feed for all of our shows. And the Fandom Podcast Network can also stream and download on that Podbean app. Fandom Podcast Network is on all major podcast platforms, which includes Apple Podcast and iTunes. And please, you can also click when you go to fpnet.podbean.com. There's a little button at the top. If you want to click on that, you can click on the Bloody Kings category. If you want to go directly to all the Bloody Kings stuff, and you can see all of our stuff there. Bloody Kings is also on Twitter and Instagram. And please, as I've mentioned before, and I read all those awesome comments from our friends and fans there on Bloody Kings, the Highlander Fandom Facebook group. If you're not part of that group, please get in there and ask to join. It is awesome. We also have the Bloody Kings sister group, the Bloody Kings Highlander CCG collectible card game and gaming discussion group page. A lot of devoted fans still playing the Highlander collectible card game and trading, and they're making new virtual cards as well, and they print them out and make cool new decks, so make sure you check that out. If you'd like to contact us directly, you can email us at bloodykingspodcast@gmail.com. My name is Kevin Reitzel. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. Lee, where can we find you?
You can find me in my bus dojo, baby. Otherwise, I am on Twitter and Instagram at The Way of the Way.
Awesome. Your bus dojo. I want to ride. Please give us reviews on Apple Podcast and iTunes or whatever your podcast platforms are. Just search Fandom Podcast Network and then leave a review for Bloody Kings there. And also, if you want your Bloody Kings t-shirt, help us out at our TeePublic store. The Fandom Podcast Network and Bloody Kings have our own store up there. You can get Bloody Kings logos on any of your apparel. I'm wearing my Joe's Bar t-shirt. I think I got that on TeePublic as well. I think someone had it up there. Forgot where I did, but it's been a while. But anyway, Lee, thank you so much for coming on and talking the Immortal on the Highlander Bloody Kings podcast, man. We appreciate you.
Hey, it's always fun, even when the movie's this bad. It's always good to see you, buddy.
So good, it's so bad. I'm Kevin. On behalf of Lee, thanks everyone for listening, and join us again next time here on the Fandom Podcast Network for another episode of Bloody Kings, a Highlander podcast. That sensation you are feeling is a quickening. We are one. We are immortals.
Farewell, dear shithead.
Goodbye, everyone.